for 2,000 miles from California to northern Alaska. But today, only about a tenth of the original forest remains. Conservationists seized on a rare bird, the northern spotted owl, which they claimed was endangered by logging. But the loggers have a message for the environmentalists.
You're all sick. So now you don't want them logging? You live in a mobile home made out of wood. Your paychecks are printed on paper pulp. And now you're down here protesting a man making a living.
The campaigners are a threat to Stephanie's dad's job and their way of life.
The spotted owl, I think is a bunch of baloney, personally. I have a lot of friends that work in the woods that see spotted owls in second, third growth redwoods. Not a problem, they see them frequently.
As logging companies rush to clear as many trees as possible, the state of California was debating legislation to control logging. The outcome will help determine baby Stephanie's future.
I hope that she'll be able to grow up in an environment where kids played out in the street. You didn't have to worry about what was going to happen to them. I just want the best for her.
The same year, 1992, we traveled to northern Kenya just as baby Erdo came into a completely different world. He's born to the Turkana tribe, cattle-rearing nomads who've roamed the land for as long as anyone can remember. Erdo's mother, Esther, is one of 2 wives in a polygamous marriage. The old way of life is under threat here too. The community is under attack by armed cattle raiders. Erdo's family have just fled for their lives. Days after the attack, they return to survey the destruction of their village.
Look, they've wrecked our bed.
Esther had set her sights on sending Erdo to the local school. Now, a brave teacher salvages what he can.
What is this?
This is the work of thieves. They've been through everything.
Their food and their cattle stolen, Erdo's mother burns trees to make charcoal to sell in the nearest town.
What will you get from this tree?
This tree will buy a small bag of maize meal, enough to feed my children for 3 days.
Several members of Erdo's family have already died in cattle raids. Now, each day in Erdo's life brings with it new risks. We left concerned for his safety. On the other side of the earth, KK was born, in completely different circumstances. In China, the world's most populous nation. China has a one-child policy. KK is the only child her parents will have.
We are just as happy having a girl. Having our little family, husband, wife and baby, that's the best. Now, we've got our baby, we are really happy. The countries move forward. When we were young, we lived in a backward environment, but our children will be thinking in a progressive way. There is no reason for them to be backward.
China in 1992 is growing fast. KK's dad, Liang, works in a paper mill. It runs on outdated, polluting technology. But China is bent on getting rich first and worrying about the environment later. In the coming years, we'll see how China's rapid development affects the twinkle in KK's eye. 3 years later, in 1995, we've returned to Northern California to catch up with Stephanie. She was born with an eye condition. Her eyes don't open properly, and she's undergoing a series of operations.
Her eyes, they're big enough across here, but when you go across towards the nose, it's not quite big enough, and you can't see the tear ducts on her eyes, and they're just going to, limit that, and hopefully that you'll be able to see the whites of the inside of her eyes.
The same year, 1995, we've also returned to the Turkana nomads of northern Kenya. We're relieved to find Erdo safe and in good health. There are children everywhere. 21 at the last count, from Erdo's dad Christopher and his 2 wives. Now Esther wants to focus on the well-being of Erdo and his siblings. But, against her wish, she's pregnant again.
I do not want any more children. But since I am a woman and I am a Turkana, I have no choice. I have to listen to the voice of my husband.
The role of a Turkana wife is to produce as many babies as possible. Esther has so far produced 11. She now wants to stop. But this goes against Turkana tradition and her husband's wishes. We'll keep returning to see how things develop for Erdo and his mother.
Prince Charles' marriage was ended unceremoniously. Miseries over divorce.
Bill Clinton has won the last American election of the 20th century.
Look at how cute Stephanie is.
But, Mom, I didn't eat it when I was a baby.
You didn't like it when you was a baby?
In the USA, Stephanie, now 4, has had an eye operation, paid for through her parents' medical insurance.
You think Mom and Daddy just were a grown-up poof overnight? We wouldn't know how to take care of you.
We doing?
The eye operation's a success.
They're doing pretty good. They've come quite a ways. I think they're, at this point, they're open really nicely. And she can see, and that's what's the most important. So hopefully she won't have to have another surgery.
That was a good idea.
When I grow up, I want to have high-heel shoes, have long hair, and be a teacher.
Meanwhile, in Gwangju, KK is starting to enjoy the fruits of her parents' labor. Her generation is well on the way to becoming a consumer culture. But there's a price to pay. The city is increasingly congested and the air polluted. And KK's dad, Liang, can't come home during the working week. It simply takes too long. It's now 5 years since we started filming our babies across the world. In Northern California, Stephanie has made a good start at school.
She's got a lot of good qualities, very creative. You can tell that she really feels in place in this classroom. She's come a long ways in kindergarten. Roll your beans.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
A few weeks later, we're in northern Kenya with Erdo, now also 5, among the Turkana nomads. Against her wishes, Esther has had another baby. Her rift with her husband has come to a head. She no longer wants Erdo to grow up as a herder. She's left her husband to build a house within reach of a school.
It seems I'm doomed to roam this land.